Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the webinar, Managing a Call Center or CSR Team. The presentation will start in 4 minutes.
Did you start the recording? Okay.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rose Schaffhauser. I'm the Executive Director for MAMES. We are super excited to offer you this morning the last of 3 webinars to help improve your collection workflow in 2019. Our MAMES associate member and spring convention sponsor, Allegiance Group, is presenting this series to MAMES members on the best practices on how to create a collections policy, a collection culture within your company, and a successful call center or CSR teams, with collections being a top priority for many of our members to combat our shrinking margins. This is an opportunity for you and your staff to understand the how-tos for effectively and efficiently building a sustainable collections program. Today, we are pleased to offer the last in the webinar series, Creating a Successful Call Center or CSR Team, as Sharon mentioned. So without further ado, I'm pleased to turn this presentation over to the Allegiance Group with Bruce Gearing to have him kick us off.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. I have on our team, Sean Murray, with our attorney agency that we work with to help us, since he manages one of our call centers and can help us provide some incredible insight into helping you manage and creating an effective call center or CSR team. Certainly want to welcome you to the 3rd webinar in the collection webinar series. In the previous webinars, we covered creating a collection policy and establishing a collection culture in your company, as Rose mentioned. These topics are still available on the MAMES website. If you did not get a chance to see them, you can listen to the webinar, and there are some handouts and some takeaways that you can use to help develop your collection policies and to tips on creating that collection culture within your company. Today, we're going to discuss how to create and manage an effective call center team. We're going to cover the culture, how we hire, onboarding and training, KPIs for your CSRs, which everybody is interested in, compliance considerations, and considering outsourcing. Let's begin with your reviewing the company's culture. Last month, we talked about culture and how it impacts interactions with people and companies outside your organization. One way it impacts your company is by influencing who applies for your open positions. Glassdoor and LinkedIn are samples of sites that job searchers can use to learn what current and former employees say about your company. The example here are for comments on the same company. Quite a difference. The goal of any manager is to have a team of employees that can produce success with or without his or her direct daily presence. As we discussed, creating this type of culture takes practice, patience, and time. Positive actions improves and reinforces culture. The goodwill established by a manager who is willing to step in and do the tasks of employees will pay substantial benefits later. It shows the team that the manager is not only a leader, but a good leader who is empathetic to the needs and the problems of their team. A good example is when companies have employees cross-train or do other assignments for a day to help the team work together to achieve overall goals. To walk in each other's shoes helps facilitate a healthy organizational culture. Everyone knows actions speak louder than words. these actions help set expectations and employee behavior. That's why managers must demonstrate what is important to create the winning culture. When establishing your culture, consider some advice from Dan Cohen, author of Building a Call Center Culture. The first 30 minutes of every day are critical because it sets the tone for the day. Here are some of the ways you can communicate to your CSRs every day. Share yesterday's production numbers. Stop by their desk, say hello, ask how they're doing, or at least send them an email. Learn and remember everyone's name. This may sound like a given, but for managers whose teams are growing or changing quickly, it can be a challenge. When you know your employees, you can start to build a foundation of trust. They will take comfort in knowing that you see how hard they're working. Celebrate their wins. Customer service work can be challenging at times. CSRs are different than your other employees. They need to be motivated to stay. Reinforce when they support your culture and or treat your customers with respect. Finally, be consistent. If someone does not show up on time or did not meet their standards, talk to them. Favoritism can destroy a good working group very quickly. Have an open door policy. It will show your team you respect them. Respect their privacy. If they have confidence that your conversations are confidential, it will be a positive influence in your culture and create an environment where reps mutually reinforce each other in a positive manner. Next, let's discuss the importance of hiring the right team members for the organization. So for our first survey question, we'd like to understand what type of screening you currently use. We all recognize that competition for skilled representatives can be intense today. Companies offer day one benefits, educational assistance, matching 401k plans, bonuses, and so on. Even with these benefits, customer service groups can have high turnover rates. It costs a lot of money to hire and train new employees. That's why it's so important to select the right people. The employees must have cognitive, planning, and interpersonal skills, as well as the right motivation and cultural fit. Therefore, more and more companies are using these techniques to help identify the right candidates, as well as having them meet their potential team members and managers. Sharon, do we have the results of the survey questions?
Yes, just a minute. We've got a few more people voting, and then I'll share this.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. 18% said they used behavioral tests. 55% used situational interview questions. 18% used skill testing. 27% used references, and 27% weren't sure or they didn't test.
Okay. Now let's have Sean lead us through finding the right personnel. Sean?
Thank you, Bruce. Good morning, everyone. So we're going to talk about finding the right personnel. Most employees want to work for a company that has a good reputation and whose products are on the up and up. Many companies have website pages for prospective employees so they can review the benefits or complete an online application. I think one of the things that's important is we don't want to wait until we have an opening to look for new employees. Always watch for employees who are providing you great customer service. Give them a business card and be able to reach out to them if their situation changes. Different things you can use are behavioral type interviews. These are going to be techniques that you're trying to help identify candidates with the right attitude and a cultural fit. I believe many managers feel if someone has the right attitude through training, they can learn the tasks and technologies required to complete the job effectively. Want to make sure that we follow up with references and then also perform background checks. Next, we're going to go on to onboarding and coaching. After the initial screening and hiring, how do we go about onboarding, training, and coaching your CSRs to be effective and good representatives of your organization? So first, talk about onboarding. Quality representatives want to receive extensive training once they join the company, so they can help your customers once they're on the floor or on the phone. Hands-on training helps new reps become comfortable with the systems they will use while helping customers. You'll want to weave the use of soft skills such as empathy, patience throughout the technical training. Since the end goal here is to have a repeat customer, your representative should demonstrate knowledge, compassion, and don't be surprised if some reps want residual training to improve their skills and better understand the company. Other ways we're going to do is look for cross-training opportunities or encourage individual development opportunities. You may even want to ask each rep to create a plan for the year, selecting an activity or two to complete each quarter. By having a rep shadow another rep, you can create some vacation backup in the process. Reps know that they will be expected to use technology, but they're going to hope the software is easy to use. The next item we'll talk about is the 7 steps of coaching. So the first one is recognition. So this should happen every day. It should happen for your low performers, even your high performers. And it can be just simple, hey, you're doing a good job. Here's something that we want you to improve on. And really, this is something that you're doing extremely well on. So you want to go on both ends of the spectrum there. The next one is preparation. It's important that you observe the coach. So data should be trended, point out movement, and document key observations. The next one is probably the most important. That's the follow-through. So capture previous coaching, ensure the agent has followed them during the observation. So if you've done the first 2 steps, you want to make sure that you go back out there just to verify that that agent is able to handle or improve on the things that you have discussed. The next one will be identify behaviors. Behaviors accumulate to create a plan that, when followed, will achieve the desired performance level. The next one, ask the agent. Ask them where they can improve, where they need help. This is extremely important as well, because that's where you kind of get that buy-in. If there's an opportunity for them to kind of explain maybe an issue or maybe something that they're struggling with, after you've gone through the first couple of steps, this is extremely important, because then they have the buy-in to say, listen, this is something I need help with, and if we're able to explain that, go through that with them, then we can see the desired improvement. Set targets. Agree to daily and weekly achievable goals. Once again, once you get that buy-in, you want to talk to that agent. It's important that the targets are something that are achievable. Don't have to be set too low that they really don't have to work on improvement, but we need to make sure that the targets are something that can be achievable. And then the next thing is a summary and buy-in. Ask the agent to summarize to ensure key teachings were understood. So once you go through all these steps, just ask them, okay, what did we talk about? What were the targets that we set? What are we going to do on a daily, weekly basis? Once you have that summary and buy-in from that agent, you're going to see the improvement go a little bit faster. Next one is accountability. Your goals must be compatible with your culture in order to have a positive impact on your collection results. To this end, you must establish accountability. The goals identify what is important and gives representatives a mark to strive toward and measure success. I would say focus on 3 to 5 goals that will be most impactful on your business. Remember, each representative should be able to explain how they contribute to the company's results. Coaching. Promote empathy. If you have an unhappy caller, You can't take them from a 10 to a 6 or 7 by using words like, I apologize for your wait, or I understand that you aren't happy. This is really that first step to try to, bring the conversation down to a level that you'll be able to go through and understand. Take ownership. Your culture should set the groundwork for your CSRs to take ownership of the call. They should spend the time to resolve the issue or go back to the customer after they've been able to research the issue. Identify the issue. Restate the customer's concern to reinforce the customer that you are listening. I think that's one of the times where the call can escalate, is after they've gone through and they explain what the issue is, and then you're talking about something else during that call. That's where that can escalate. So you just want to go through, hey, just want to go through this again. We're talking about that you're unable to understand your bill. Is that correct? You want to make sure that you identify and restate that issue. Make certain that all issues have been resolved. Ask the customer if there's anything else. So really, at the end of the call, you just want to kind of complete just one-line sentence. Has everything been resolved on the call today? And the reason that you called in? Yes, it has. Is there anything else I can help? No. Good. Thank you. If you must transfer the call, do a live transfer by staying on the line until the other party answers the phone. This encourages and makes sure that there's no mishaps with that transfer. Throughout coaching, you should be able to reduce the length of the call and make your CSRs more productive and also increase your customer satisfaction. Other useful tips, Bruce mentioned this, open door policy. Want to make sure that they have the ability to come in, ask you questions, ideas they might have. Annual review and quarterly updates. Seniority experience versus longevity. Need to take action. And then be consistent so your team knows what to expect, which is extremely important. Everybody's got to be treated the same way. Make sure that they all understand that and that that's happening on a daily or weekly basis.
Now that we've discussed coaching and accountability, let's just look at some of the key performance indicators. And accountability will mainly come from your KPIs that you hold your team to and manage them for their success. But it's important and very critical to review and manage by those KPIs. But when evaluating performance of your representatives, you need to consider the soft skills as well. So before we dive into the KPIs, let's look at the soft skills first. This is where an effective screening process in hiring can help you identify good candidates when they are able to demonstrate these skills. Can they listen effectively? Are they answering the phones using the company's standards? Do they have good understanding of the callers? Do they exhibit good interpersonal skills? Are they using good judgment in identifying, analyzing, and making reasonable decisions on behalf of the client and patient? Do they empower themselves? Do they resolve issues and problems? And are they adaptable? Are they willing to learn new information? This is also where customer satisfaction surveys will help you confirm your CSR strengths and help identify areas that need improvement. So for our second survey question, we want to get a sense of what KPIs you use to achieve your results. And please here check all that apply. There may be other KPIs you use specific to your business, like one call resolution or callback completion in a specific time period. The critical thing is determining your main business drivers and develop the KPI measurements specifically for your business. Sharon, did I give enough time for us to capture the results?
We're still getting some responses in, and I had this as select one. I selected the wrong option on this call, so they're selecting the most important to them.
Okay.
Okay, looks like everybody's done. So as we can see, for the most important, number of calls answered came in at 62%. Number of dropped calls was 23%. Average speed of answer was 8%, and dollars collected was 8%. And no one really was using length of call as their top measurement.
Okay, very good. Okay, now we're going to have Sean help us run through some of the common CSR and call center KPIs. Sean?
So providers are always looking for industry benchmarks. So we're going to go through the global standards for most common contact center performance KPIs according to the International Finance Corporation. The first one is going to be service level, which is the percentage of contacts answered within a predefined time frame. I would say the global metric for service level in the contact center is 80% of all contacts answered within 20 seconds. Next one will be number of calls answered, just a pure number based on the number of calls received and that were answered in a given day or given time frame. Average speed of answer is the average amount of time for calls to be answered by a specific agent during a specific time period. This includes the amount of time callers wait in a queue and while the agent's phones ring. The global metric for average speed to answer in a contact center is 28 seconds. Length of call. Call duration is the amount of time agents speak with customers on the phone. The global metric for call duration in a contact center is 4 minutes per call. The next one is going to be number of drop calls. Can be also an abandon rate, and that's going to be the number of callers that hang up before the representative answers the phone. The global metric for abandon rate in the contact center is between 5 and 8%. Next one we're going to talk about is call wrap-up time, which is going to be the time that the agent takes after the call is finished to complete all associated work and document the account. The metric for call wrap-up time is about 6 minutes. First call resolution. So this measures the percentage of calls where the caller's issues resolved on the first attempt without the agent needing to escalate the call, transfer the call, or for the customer to call back. The metric for that and first call resolution is between 70 and 75%. Next one we're going to be is time available to take calls. Adherence to schedule measures a contact center agent's degree of compliance with their assigned schedule, and the metric for that for schedule adherence is going to be 95%. Customer satisfaction. It's a metric that can be acquired by conducting customer surveys as well as quality assurance measurements. The global metric for customer service in a contact center is 90%. And we've added dollars collected. You can download the complete report. Remember, these are broad guidelines utilizing data from several customer care groups. It can also be a starting point. And as we go back, we look at the different items, and we're going to go through some of the KPIs, but just kind of really want to talk about a couple of them. Length of the call. So what will happen when it goes to the length of the call is you're going to find out as agents take more calls and their tenure is increased, you will see that length of the call reduce. And that's just based on confidence and ability to navigate and answer the questions. And then the other one we'll talk real quick about is just the first call resolution. And what that does is that reduces the number of calls. So if you're able to go through the call flow that we talked about earlier and use that final line of, have I answered all your questions today, and is there anything else? That will be two things that will be very important with first call resolution. So we have the KPIs report up here. So this is just a simple report. Just gives it an ability for a quick look at a monthly basis, total number of calls answered, abandon rate, one-to-one to voicemails, call duration, and then hold time. The next slide is just a daily volume. So it gives us the call volume by day. So this is the ability from a staffing perspective to make sure that you know during which days you're going to need the most staff, just to make sure that you have the availability and the agents to take the calls, which will help reduce the hold time. Hold time versus drop calls. Obviously, as the hold time goes up, you're going to see the drop calls go up as well. So you can see those peaks. They're just going to kind of mirror each other. The more someone is on hold, obviously you're going to get drop calls, and that is one of the drivers to reduce customer satisfaction. And then the FTE is required to handle the call volume, right? So this is just based on the number of calls. So you can kind of figure out from a mathematical standpoint how many calls an agent can take, and then you can look at that, your volume, and that gives you the ability to make sure that you are staffed properly. So we've got KPIs and trending. Trending KPIs is extremely important. With trends, you can start to make observations. For example, in this report, you can see that the total calls answered were down in the most recent month from the prior month. However, they are still up relative to the trend over the last 6 months. The SLA dipped from 95% in October to 90% in November. The SLA is the percentage of calls answered within the first 60 seconds. 85% is our expected minimum, and the average call duration remained consistent through that time period. Using the same report, you can see the reaction to the staffing reduction in June, resulting in a spike in the number of missed calls. As you bring on new hires, you're going to have to anticipate the extended call times through the training period, which is about a 30 to 60-day time period. Once staffing is kind of stabilized, you can see the results in the statistics are dramatic in the reduction in missed calls and reduced call time.
Your CSRs are your most important asset, serving as your face of your company. Their happiness will be directly correlated to how they treat your customers. This is critical. So whether your culture is formal or informal, measuring the health of your culture requires exploring how your employees feel. How do you know if your employees feel empowered or happy? Here are some questions that you can ask them. Do you feel you've been trained adequately to help your customer? Are you encouraged to search for new ideas and solutions? Do you have the tools you need to help your customers? And are you contributing to the results of your company? The task of nurturing and changing the culture is important. If you let your culture shape itself, you'll have one more unknown to address. To help your staff collect more patient balances, take the time to make certain that your culture, policies, and procedures are in alignment. This alignment will remove any confusion surrounding collection activities. It will increase the effectiveness of your staff and result in an improved bottom line. Compliance is a key component of any organization's performance. Sean's going to help us understand the importance of compliance when dealing with patient collections. Sean?
So we have a couple items we want to go through here. We want to make sure that we understand federal and state laws, including HIPAA. You have the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, FDCPA, which is a federal law that provides limitations on what debt collectors can do and say when collecting medical debt. The Federal Fair Credit Reporting Act covers how debt collection is reported in credit reports. In addition, there are all those state laws that provide protections as well. Under the FDCPA, debt collectors include collection agencies, debt buyers, and lawyers who regularly collect debts as part of their business. The FDCPA prohibits debt collection companies from using abusive, unfair, or deceptive practices to collect debts. It does not generally cover the collection efforts by the original creditor. Restrictions on communication by debt collectors when collecting a debt, time and place. You may contact a customer you may not contact a customer at an unusual time or place that you know is inconvenient to them. You cannot contact customers before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. Also, if a customer is not allowed to receive calls at work, unable to do that if they have contacted you and told you that. That would basically consider it as harassment. You may not harass your patient over the phone or through any other type of contact. Representation by attorney. If your patient tells you they're being represented by attorney, when you call, you must contact the attorney with that information. We have adherence to regulatory expectations, and one of the best ways to do this is do call monitoring. So you want to do side by side. You can do live call monitoring. You can take calls offline, pull them, listen to them. You're going to want a standard compliance form. So for each agent that is on a certain project, based on what those project needs are, you want to make sure that you have a standard form. And once again, that's going to be used in the coaching. Some of the resources that you can go to are the ftc.gov, HIPAA, and NOLO.com, and that'll give you the state information.
So when does it make sense to manage a call center internally or use an outsourced resource? The simple rule is have your company or organization focus internally on what you do well and outsource those things that you're lacking in resources to manage or do not have the expertise to handle efficiently. Organizations or questions to ask may be, do you have any special projects that need more resources? Or do you focus your limited staff resources on just the higher private pay balances or some of the patient balances not getting the attention they deserve? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, you may want to consider a billing and collection partner to help you with your outstanding balances. You may have some special projects that you need more resources, like a billing backlog, reauthorization, credit card setup, equipment pickup, insurance updates, skip trace for addresses, automated reminder calls, and the list goes on. Or your outstanding balances just continue to grow and you're frustrated trying to get your clients to pay. Things happen. Your staff gets too busy to make collection calls, or they may not have the necessary skills to recover the money from your clients. And in the back of your mind, you know, the longer the balance goes unpaid, the harder it is going to be to collect. Where can you turn to for help? You may want to consider using a billing collection partner. A partner can not only help you get the statements and invoices in the mail on time, but they can also generate several touches in a friendly and respectful way to remind your clients of their outstanding private pay balances. Bottom line, they can help you collect more cash faster using fewer of your office resources. But what should you consider when selecting a collection partner? Well, here's 5 areas of research. Expertise. You'll want an industry leader, so make certain the company is experienced in collecting outstanding balances in the HME/DME industry and can show results. Philosophy. Critical. The tools that billing and collection companies use most frequently to reach out to your clients are invoices and phone calls. Does their content and style match yours? Services and integration. Integration streamlines the flow of data so your client services team will have current information to better serve your patients. And then, of course, costs and fees. Different pricing models may be used based on age of the account, may start with flat rate and switch to percentages of the amount collected. Can the process be customized to provide strong ROI and cost recovery? All critical questions. And what is the true cost per seat to you currently doing this internally? Do you understand those costs? not just the FTE, it's also the overhead and the tools that are required to do the call center work. Do you have the right software, the switch and telephone dialing processes built into your system? Or what is the cost of those things to be able to be effective and efficient? And do they integrate with your billing software platform? References. Ask specific questions. Does the company respond to your calls and emails in a timely fashion? Has the company met their goals for service level agreements? Can you track the collection results through ad hoc reports, or do you have to wait for them to send you reports? Have you had a client issue with the company? And if so, was it resolved to your satisfaction? All key components in considering outsourcing. In summary, culture: provide clear, defined expectations and goals along with well-defined responsibilities. Very key is establishing the culture, which we reviewed in the first session. Second, do you have the right hiring processes in place? Hiring the right team members with the skills needed to perform to a level that meets your goals. Give the team members the tools they need to do their job well and continue to train and coach. Certainly lead by example and continue with consistent execution of standards set for your team. Monitor and share the results of your team so everybody's on the same page and they can all share in the successes and understand where the weaknesses are for development. Be open with the praise and coach in private as needed. Be consistent and confident in your compliance. Test on what you expect and expect what you test. You've probably all heard that saying, but it's critical. That's assuring that your employees know their business. And focus on what you do well internally and outsource where you lack resources or expertise. So now, with the time that we have left, we can certainly open it up to questions. And Sharon, I'll let you see if there have been any questions that have come in during the session that we can answer.
Sure. If you have any questions on the toolbar, if you happen to close it, there's a red arrow in the upper right-hand corner potentially. You can click on it and it will bring the control panel out, and there's a question area and you can just submit your questions there. And then before we start on the questions, I also want to mention we do have a couple handouts that you can also capture from that control panel. The first is a copy of the slides from today's presentation, and the second is a sample collection call script. A lot of times people don't know where to start, and so this is a good starting point. It's out there as a Word doc, so you can just start using it to put together your own script. Okay, the first question is from Blanchard. She's wondering, is this presentation or any of the previous presentations available to listen to? I'll go ahead and take that one. That yes, they are. They are currently listed on the MAMES site, so you can go ahead and go out there. I think it's on the resource page, and this one, it'll probably take a day or two for me to get it downloaded and set so that you can go ahead and view it, but they will all be listed out there so you'll be able to see them. Okay, we have a second question from John. And I guess this is more for Sean. It's like, what KPIs do you find are the most useful to evaluate your employees?
So I'm a big believer in the length of the call, because that tells me if that individual is progressing in their knowledge of what we're trying to do. So I think that's going to be the first one. The calls might start out at the beginning, and I'm a believer that you measure that by number of calls, not by number of days that an employee is there. So you want to get to a situation to where, let's say the average call, is 6 minutes. They might start out at 10. After 50 calls, are you starting to see that timeline go down? I think that's important, because that tells you that individual is starting to retain information and they're getting better. The second one, I believe, is first call resolution. Once again, big believer is you go through the flow of the call and finishing that last line saying, have I answered your questions for the reason that you called in today? Yes. Is there anything else that I can help you with regarding, your account? No. That makes a huge difference, because what that'll do is once you get that, you'll increase your customer satisfaction because everything that they called in has been resolved. And then the second item is that you're going to reduce the number of calls because you're able to handle it with the first call.
Okay. The next question is from Dania, and they would like to know, do you have any good resources for the skills testing suggested in the interview process?
John, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so, I think there's probably some things that we could put out there. I will get with Bruce and Sharon. There's a couple of, I think from a skills testing standpoint, it really depends on what type of call that they're taking. Is it going to be a true billing call, or is it more to the collection side? So I think that's something that I can get with Bruce and Sharon, and I think we can provide that.
Yes, what we can do is we will be sending out a follow-up email, and we can put some information in that email to answer that question. It looks like that's all the questions we have at this time.
Wonderful. Rose, thank you for letting us participate and bring this topic to the members, and look forward to seeing everybody at the MAMES conference in May. And hopefully we can see you. Sean and I will also be at MedTrade. We'll be doing this session with some additional information for this. So it will be good and fresh, and certainly a refresher for those people that have seen it if you attend the MedTrade session.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you. And if there's any questions, please contact Sean or I. Their information is up on the screen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.